It's an emotional roller coaster of grief, hate, anger, and nothingness.
The search team had been walking for less than 5 minutes when they saw the disturbed patch of sand. Inside it, they found the body of a young woman who had gone missing less than 24 hours earlier. Her name was Toyah Cordingley, a 24-year-old pharmacy worker from Cairns. She had gone to Wangetti Beach that Sunday afternoon to walk her dog, but never came home. Her car was still parked in the beach car park, and her dog was found tied to a tree nearby. There were no witnesses, no weapon, and no footprints to explain what had happened in those final moments. Within days, the man police most wanted to question had vanished, leaving his job, his home, and boarding a one-way flight out of Australia before investigators even knew his name. What could make an ordinary hospital nurse walk away from everything within 24 hours of a murder? And how did a single piece of DNA buried in the sand lead police across continents, sparking one of the biggest international manhunts of Australia's history?
You are watching Crime Insider. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video.
On October 21, 2018, in Cairns, Queensland, 24-year-old Toya Cordingley finished a routine Sunday shift at the local health food store and drove home to prepare dinner for the evening. Around mid-afternoon, she decided to take her rescue dog Indy to Wangetti Beach, a quiet stretch of coastline about 40 minutes north of Cairns. At 3:17 p.m., Toya sent her final text to her boyfriend Marco Heidenreich, telling him she would pick up their friend Tyson Franklin from Cairns Airport later that evening. According to court records, this was the last verified communication from her phone. By 5 p.m., her mother tried calling several times, but received no answer. When Toya still hadn't returned by 8 p.m., Marco drove toward Wangetti Beach, tracing her usual route. He found her car parked near the main beach access, but no trace of Toya or Indy. Local police were notified just after 9 p.m. They conducted a brief search of the car park and immediate dunes using flashlights, but suspended operations overnight due to poor visibility. The car showed no sign of forced entry. Toya's wallet and keys were still inside. By morning, multiple agencies joined the search. Volunteers, state emergency service crews, and mounted police combed the shoreline. Witness statements taken later noted that Toya had been seen walking alone toward the northern end of the beach late that afternoon, accompanied only by her dog. According to investigative notes cited in later filings, officers quickly recognized inconsistencies. There were clear tire marks near the dunes not matching Toya's vehicle, and portions of sand appeared freshly disturbed. When the missing person listing was issued, detectives began mapping phone tower data along the Captain Cook Highway corridor to locate Toya's final signal. That process would later become central to the case's digital timeline. Throughout that first day, the search area expanded several kilometers. The terrain was isolated, with limited surveillance and no nearby residences. Officers described the conditions as difficult: open sand, thick scrub, and changing tides. By late afternoon, attention turned to specific points where canine units alerted, areas of disturbed vegetation close to the dunes. Her family remained at the scene while police coordinated logistics for the following morning's deeper grid search. At that stage, the disappearance was still classified as a missing person case, not a crime. There was no evidence of violence, no eyewitness, and no body. By early morning on October 22nd, search crews were back at Wangetti Beach. The area stretched across open sand dunes and thick scrubland, with volunteers and officers walking shoulder to shoulder. Toya's father joined them, retracing the same path he had searched the night before. Not far from the northern car park, he noticed a section of sand that looked recently disturbed. When he brushed the surface aside, what appeared to be part of a human leg was visible beneath the layer of sand. He called out to police within seconds. Detectives confirmed the remains were female and matched Toya's clothing description from the missing person report. Her dog, Indy, was found tied to a tree nearby. The animal was uninjured, but had been restrained for hours. Officers sealed the site, marking the coordinates for forensic documentation. Crime scene technicians from Cairns arrived before midday. According to official statements, Toya's body was partially buried at the base of a sand dune, about 1.7 kilometers from the main access track. Pathologists conducted an initial assessment at the scene. There were visible signs of multiple sharp force injuries and what appeared to be defensive wounds on her hands and forearms. A deep wound across the front of her neck was later described in court as immediately fatal. The scene contained scattered items, a leash, a phone case, and a small stick protruding from the freshly moved sand. Each item was photographed, logged, and sealed for lab testing. The dog's tether and collar were also collected. That afternoon, police elevated the classification from missing person to homicide. Detective Senior Sergeant Ed Kinbacher from the Cairns Division confirmed in a press briefing that a dedicated task force had been formed under the name Operation Quebec Clarify. Search teams extended their sweep north and south of the site, recovering additional fragments of personal property but no weapon. A forensic pathologist was assigned to conduct the full post-mortem at Cairns Base Hospital that evening. Investigators focused on two immediate questions: how long Toya had been dead before discovery, and whether the burial indicated premeditation or panic. By late evening, preliminary timelines placed her death within hours of her last known message. That finding narrowed the window sharply, between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. on Sunday. As news spread, media crews arrived at the highway turnoff. Police requested privacy for the family and withheld specific details of the injuries. Once the forensic samples from Wangetti Beach reached the lab in Brisbane, analysts began sorting what could separate trace material from environmental noise. Among dozens of items logged, one stood out, a wooden stick partially buried beside Toya's body. According to forensic reports later presented in court, a small section near the base contained human DNA. The match returned as billions of times more likely to belong to a local nurse named Rajwinder Singh than to any random individual in the population database. At the same time, digital investigators reconstructed Toya's movements using her mobile phone data. Records showed her device left the beach area around 5 p.m. on the afternoon she disappeared and stopped transmitting shortly after. The same tower logs recorded another phone, dropping offline that same hour. Police cross-referenced vehicle movements along the Captain Cook Highway, using roadside CCTV and private security feeds from nearby businesses. A blue Alfa Romeo sedan, matching Singh's car, was captured passing Wangetti Beach within the relevant time frame and returning toward Cairns roughly an hour later. According to case files, Singh was rostered off-duty that Sunday. His colleagues at the Innisfail Hospital told detectives he hadn't reported for work the following day and had not responded to calls. The lab also processed other DNA swabs collected from Toya's fingernails and clothing. Those results were mixed. Several profiles were detected, and one excluded Singh as a contributor. The conflicting results kept the case in the circumstantial category, but did not rule him out. Investigators reviewed purchase records, travel history, and communications. Bank statements showed Singh made no large withdrawals, but began searching for flights online on the same evening Toya's body was found. By the end of that week, the task force had assembled a pattern linking physical, digital, and behavioral evidence to one person. According to police summaries later filed in court, the findings were presented to prosecutors for an arrest warrant. But before officers could act, immigration records confirmed Singh had already left Australia. He boarded a flight to India within 24 hours of Toya's discovery, leaving behind his job, his car, and a trail of unanswered questions. The case, once local to far north Queensland, was now international. And as the homicide file crossed continents, investigators had to confront the new reality. Their primary suspect was gone. According to Queensland police, he had purchased a one-way ticket using his own name. Surveillance footage from Cairns Airport showed him carrying a small backpack and using the international departures gate alone. His vehicle, a blue Alfa Romeo, was later found abandoned at his Innisfail residence, keys still inside. Investigators visited the property the same week. Neighbors told detectives they hadn't seen Singh since the weekend of Toya's disappearance. His hospital supervisors confirmed he failed to report for his Monday shift and had not called in sick. By late October, the focus of Operation Quebec Clarify shifted from homicide inquiry to international pursuit. Detectives worked with the Australian Federal Police to issue an Interpol Red Notice requesting Singh's arrest abroad. His family in the Punjab region of India was notified through official channels. For months, communication between Queensland and Indian authorities continued through legal correspondence. Locating Singh proved difficult. India does not routinely extradite its citizens unless specific treaty conditions are met. In the following year, the case remained in partial stasis. Police continued public appeals and quietly liaised with the Department of Foreign Affairs to maintain pressure through diplomatic routes. By 2020, investigators received periodic updates suggesting Singh had been seen near his family home in Buttersevia village. None of those reports led to confirmed contact. Each October, Toya's family renewed their appeals for cooperation, reminding authorities that the suspect had fled but not vanished. By mid-2022, frustration inside the Queensland Police Service had reached a point of policy review. Senior officers proposed a financial incentive that could break the stalemate. The government soon approved it, an unprecedented move in the state's history. In November 2022, Queensland's Attorney General announced a $1 million reward for information leading to the arrest or conviction of Wangetti Singh. That decision changed the investigation overnight. Within days, Indian news outlets began circulating Singh's photo, identifying him as a wanted man in an Australian homicide case. The coverage was coordinated between the Australian Federal Police, Interpol, and India's Central Bureau of Investigation. His hometown of Buttersevia in Punjab quickly became the focus of local reporters and police patrols. Tips began arriving almost immediately. Several callers claimed Singh had been living quietly in the Delhi region, working occasional shifts and moving between rented rooms to avoid detection. By November 25th, Delhi police received a verified lead from an informant who had seen him near a medical clinic in the capital's western district. A joint team moved in the following morning. According to Indian authorities, Singh was arrested without resistance while walking along a busy street. He carried a single mobile phone and minimal identification. Australian officials confirmed the arrest within hours. A formal press statement from Queensland Police thanked the Indian agencies involved and acknowledged that multiple tipsters had contributed to locating the suspect. Under Indian law, Singh was placed in judicial custody while the Ministry of External Affairs reviewed the extradition request. Court documents later showed he initially contested the proceedings, citing family obligations, but reversed his position 2 months later. In January 2023, Singh signed a declaration stating he would not oppose extradition to Australia. That decision cleared the way for transfer arrangements under the bilateral treaty. For Queensland investigators, it marked the end of a 4-year international cease. Archdetectives who had worked the case since 2018 began preparing the procedural package required to accompany Singh home: hundreds of pages of forensic reports, witness statements, and chain of custody records. While the legal process continued in Delhi, Australian authorities confirmed that the reward had served its purpose. The $1 million fund was later distributed among multiple informants whose information directly led to the arrest. By February 2023, all diplomatic paperwork was finalized. A police escort from Queensland's Homicide Investigation Unit flew to India to collect Singh from Tihar jail. After years of speculation, the suspect, who left within a day of Toya Cordingley's discovery, was now preparing to return to the country where the investigation had begun. And for the first time since 2018, police could move from pursuit to prosecution. On February 28, 2023, Wangetti Singh landed in Queensland under police escort, ending more than 4 years of international coordination between India and Australia. He was formally charged with 1 count of murder and transferred directly to the Cairns police station for processing. Queensland Police later confirmed that detectives from Operation Quebec Clarify were present at every stage of the handover to maintain evidentiary integrity. Singh appeared via video link in the Cairns Magistrates Court that same afternoon. The court ordered he remain in custody without bail. Prosecutors told the magistrate that DNA and digital data connected him to the scene at Wangetti Beach and that the Crown would proceed on a full murder indictment. In public statements, police said the return marked a significant milestone, but reminded the media that the matter was before the courts. Toya Cordingley's parents attended the brief hearing, and issued no comment afterward. Over the next 12 months, the case moved through procedural hearings and disclosure stages. Forensic reports were cross-checked against the 2018 evidence catalog. Investigators verified that all original samples, the stick, the clothing, and trace materials, had been sealed and stored continuously since collection. Court filings revealed that Singh maintained his innocence and declined to participate in interviews beyond confirming his identity. His defense counsel requested independent DNA review and cell tower reanalysis, both of which were approved. By mid-2024, the Queensland government confirmed the $1 million reward had been paid to multiple individuals whose information led to Singh's arrest.
Prosecutors, meanwhile, finalized their evidence brief, combining digital forensics, pathologist findings, and travel data into a single case summary for trial submission. In December 2024, the Supreme Court at Cairns set the trial start for February 2025. Witness lists were issued, and the Crown prepared to call more than 70 people over several weeks of proceedings. After nearly 7 years, the case that began with a walk on Wangetti Beach was finally returning to a courtroom in the same city where it started. The focus now shifted from investigation to proof. Every sample, timestamp, and testimony would be tested before a jury, and within months, Queensland would hear the evidence in full for the first time. In February 2025, the Supreme Court in Cairns convened for the murder trial of Rajwinder Singh. 12 jurors were selected, 8 men and 4 women, and the proceedings began under tight security and continuous media attention. The prosecution opened with a clear sequence: the phone data, the forensic findings, and Singh's departure from Australia within 24 hours of the discovery. Crown Prosecutor Nathan Crane told jurors that the evidence formed a circumstantial but consistent pattern. Over the following weeks, jurors were shown aerial photographs of Wangetti Beach and ground-level images from the original crime scene documentation. Forensic pathologist Dr. Elizabeth Clark described Toya's injuries as catastrophic and incompatible with life, listing multiple stab wounds and defensive cuts across her hands and arms. The court heard that Toya's dog was found tied to a tree close to the grave. The leash and knot were shown to the jury as part of the physical evidence set. A key exhibit was the wooden stick that had been logged beside the burial site. DNA analysis indicated it was billions of times more likely to belong to Singh than to a random person. The lab technician who performed the test explained the statistical strength of the finding. The Crown also presented mobile phone tower data, showing Toya's phone leaving the beach at approximately 5 p.m., followed by silence. Singh's phone, registered under his name, went offline during the same time window. CCTV footage from roadside businesses showed a blue Alfa Romeo, identical to Singh's car, traveling north toward Wangetti and returning south an hour later. Police testified that the number plate could not be read, but the model, color, and time frame aligned with Singh's known movements. Toya's boyfriend, Marco Heidenreich, took the stand to describe her last text and his discovery of her empty car. His testimony was brief and factual. Friend and podiatrist Tyson Franklin also testified. Under cross-examination, he admitted lying to police in the early investigation about the extent of his friendship with Toya. The defense used that admission to argue that investigators had not explored other potential suspects thoroughly. Defense counsel Michael Dalton told the jury that the case rested on assumptions: no eyewitnesses, partial DNA, and missing context. He emphasized that unknown DNA was also found under Toya's fingernails and that Singh's flight might have been motivated by family or visa issues, not guilt. The prosecution replied that Singh's rapid departure, coupled with the DNA and phone data, pointed clearly toward involvement. After closing submissions, the jury was instructed to deliberate only on the evidence presented, not speculation or media coverage. Deliberations lasted nearly 3 days. By the third afternoon, jurors sent a note to the judge indicating they could not reach a unanimous decision. What followed would determine the next phase of the case, and whether 7 years of investigation would end or begin again. On March 18, 2025, the jury in Rajwinder Singh's murder trial informed the Supreme Court they were unable to reach a unanimous verdict.
After more than 2.5 days of deliberation, the foreperson told Justice Rita Spence that further discussion would not resolve their differences. The judge thanked the panel for their service and formally discharged them. Singh was remanded in custody while prosecutors reviewed the case with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. The announcement confirmed what many had expected: the matter was not over. Within hours, Queensland's Attorney General released a brief statement confirming a retrial would be scheduled. Prosecutors maintained that the Crown's evidence remained strong and that a new jury would be asked to reconsider the same body of proof. In court records filed the following week, the retrial was officially listed for November 10, 2025, at the Supreme Court in Cairns. Singh again entered a plea of not guilty. During post-trial interviews, the prosecution described the hung jury as disappointing, but not uncommon in long, circumstantial cases. The defense said the outcome underscored the reasonable doubt surrounding key forensic and digital evidence. Toya Cordingley's family attended every day of the trial and were present when the verdict was read. They issued no public statement, but local coverage showed them leaving the courthouse together, surrounded by supporters holding sunflowers, a symbol that had come to represent Toya's memory across far north Queensland. Community reaction remained measured. Many residents expressed relief that the case would continue, though frustration lingered after years of uncertainty. Online discussions focused on the complexity of DNA interpretation and the legal weight of circumstantial timelines. As Singh was escorted from the courtroom, he said nothing. His legal team began preparing for a full retrial, requesting access to every forensic file and additional witness transcript from the first proceeding. For the prosecution, the priority was refinement, tightening the presentation, clarifying the data, and reinforcing the sequence that linked physical evidence to the accused. 7 years after Toya's final walk on Wangetti Beach, the case was once again heading back to the same courthouse, this time for a second attempt at resolution. And for investigators, the central question remained unchanged: would the next trial finally deliver an answer or another deadlock? By mid-2025, Toya Cordingley's case had spanned nearly 7 years, crossing continents, governments, and courts. Yet for her family, the waiting continued. The retrial was now officially confirmed for November 10th, with jury selection scheduled to begin in Cairns in early spring. In interviews with ABC News and local outlets, Toya's parents spoke about the fatigue that comes with unresolved justice. They said they would attend every session again, no matter how long it took, because closure meant hearing a final verdict in the courtroom, not a headline. Community vigils at Wangetti Beach became an annual ritual. Each October, residents gathered with candles and sunflowers, placing them near the dune line where Toya was found. Volunteers from across the Cairns region joined, many who had never met her but remembered the case as one that had reshaped local trust and awareness about personal safety. Investigators within Operation Quebec Clarify continued to oversee the case file. Forensic officers conducted a final review of sample storage and chain of custody documentation in preparation for the retrial. The prosecution was expected to reintroduce DNA, phone data, and CCTV evidence, but in a more structured order, aiming for clarity over volume. Defense filings indicated they would focus on the reliability of the DNA sample from the stick and the missing data intervals between phone tower pings. Singh's legal team also requested access to all alternate suspect interviews conducted in 2018, arguing they formed part of reasonable doubt. Court observers expected the retrial to last at least 4 weeks. Both sides had been granted permission to reuse prior witness testimony and recall only those essential for new cross-examinations. Outside the legal process, Toya's story continued to circulate through national coverage and community memorials. Her case symbolized how a single act of violence could travel years and borders before facing judgment. Queensland police maintained that the investigation remained active until a final verdict was reached. Detectives close to the case described the retrial not as a restart, but as a continuation, the final stretch of a search that began on a quiet Sunday afternoon in 2018. As the new court date approached, Toya's father returned once more to Wangetti Beach. He placed a small bunch of sunflowers near the sand dune and walked back to his car without speaking to reporters. In that silence, the meaning of closure remained suspended, somewhere between hope, justice, and the unanswered questions still waiting inside a courtroom. You've been watching Crime Insider, where every detail comes from verified records and official reports. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, and what do you think about the current state of the case. And if you want more true investigations told exactly as they happened, subscribe now so you never miss the next story.